You're listening to Paris: A State of Mind on Paris Underground Radio. For more great content, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Paris Underground Radio.
Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. Join us as we talk about the good, the bad, the ins, the outs of property rentals and purchases in and around Paris. We'll have topics for renters, owners, and visitors, share questions we are regularly asked, and more. My name is Gail Boisclair of Perfectly Paris, and my co-host is Marie Pistinier of Lokim Paris. Be a part of it. Both of us are proud members of the SPLM, the first representative body of furnished rental professionals. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. We're having just a little bit of a different format for this latest season, and I'm going to be interviewing people, and Marie is taking a break, working on our next season with all kinds of information. So in the previous season, we did a couple of episodes talking about our opinion of the different arrondissements in Paris. So it was a biased opinion from me, of course, and from Marie. So to try to not be biased, I thought that we should follow this up with getting some of our other podcast hosts into the conversation and asking them what they feel like their arrondissement has to offer, what type of people live there, and how they like it. And for this very first episode in this series, I have the pleasure of welcoming Annette Delou, who is the host of the podcast, The Heart of You, which talks a lot about spirituality, and Annette can get into more detail about that. But she also has a wonderful design business. You can find her at Annette Delou, DALLOO.com, but we'll talk more about that later. So she's our first person that we're having on this show. Welcome, Annette.
Thank you so much, Gail. I'm so excited to talk about Le 15e.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know what that is, what arrondissement do you live in, Annette?
I live in the 15th.
Well, so I never used to go to the 15th, but then I had a few friends, including you, that live in the 15th, and it did change my mind of my preconceived ideas of the 15th.
Yeah, the preconceived ideas happen to be from what everyone told me when I first said that I was going to move here was that it's the suburbs. It is, so far away, everything else. So, we can sort of debunk some of those myths as well.
And how long have you lived in the 15th?
So I've lived here since December of 2019.
Oh, wow. So you know it very well.
I do.
And did you choose to live in the 15th on purpose, or was it just luck of the draw of where you found an apartment?
A little bit of both. I originally, as you know, Gail, you helped me find my first furnished apartment when I first came to France in July of 2019, and I lived up in Montmartre. So I was in the 18th, which I did love. I really did like it there. It was a bit too crowded for me, a little bit too congested and chaotic. I'm in my 40s. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to have 8,000 people right outside my door. So as I started exploring, I realized that I really did like the 8th, I liked the 10th, and I really liked the 15th. And I kind of was looking in those three areas. And it just so happens that this is the apartment that was completely aligned with everything that I wanted. And so that's how I ended up here.
And what was it that you were kind of looking for in an apartment?
So I had quite a different perspective because my whole life, I had always loved vintage apartments, loved the old, really cool, quirky apartments, right? And Paris is full of quirky apartments. And I had gone through all of that while I was living in Chicago. And the last apartment I had before I moved to Paris was actually a new construction in Chicago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have cupboard space. I have a real kitchen. I have all of the working outlets, all of these things. Groundbreaking. And so I decided that I really wanted a modern-ish apartment in Paris. Even though the dream is to live in an Haussmann style building, for me, I was like, no, I actually really want a building that functions.
That has electricity and plumbing from the 21st century?
Correct. So that was my intention. And so, yeah, that's what I got. So the building that I live in currently was built in the 1970s. So it's a wonderful space in the sense that everything works. I have great heat, great water, electricity, all that other fun stuff. The space itself is not quirky and weird. Everything fits. Yeah, it's great.
And so I guess now that you have spent so much time in the 15th, are you happy with your choice, or are you dreaming about living in another arrondissement?
Well, we always give up certain things when we decide on living in a particular arrondissement. And for me, what I gave up was, in fact, sort of that being able to walk out your door and have everything there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to walk a little bit further to get to certain things. I am pretty centrally located between the 6, 12, and 13 lines. So I can get anywhere. It's not a problem on the metro and that sort of thing. But it is one of those things where I did give up a little bit of that convenience to live in the 15th, because the 15th is the largest arrondissement in Paris. And so it is a bit more spread out. So you're going to have a lot more houses. Like for me, I do have to walk 8 minutes to the metro versus, if you're living in the 8th, maybe you're walking, 2 minutes to the metro. So, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but that is something to mention. But other than that, I mean, I love it. It's quiet when it needs to be. So in other words, it's quiet in the evening. And then, yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. Always a lot of different events and things like that. So, yeah.
And what is it that you like most about the area? Like, what's your favorite thing? If you could say, I love living here because.
The space.
Okay.
The space and the expansiveness. Like, it's just really, you can breathe. Like, I feel very, sort of almost claustrophobic in other parts of Paris where there's just so many people and so many things going on and so much energy. And that's the other thing. So, because I work with energy, because I work in the spiritual realms, being in a newer place helps me as well energetically to not be around a lot of old energies and a lot of spaces that have had a lot of energies in it and that sort of thing. And so like the fact that this is sort of a big open space energetically, it works for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if somebody wanted to ask you, like, what type of people kind of live in your area of the 15th, do you feel that it's more families or swinging singles? What do you think?
Well, it really depends on the area that you're in the 15th. So where I am, which is about like I said, an 8-minute walk from Pasteur, it's a lot of families. The building that I live in specifically, there were a lot of families that moved in here when they were starting families in the 70s. So a lot of the people who live here now in this building are, in their 70s or in their 80s. So there's a lot of the elderly community around me specifically in the building. But, there are schools, there are families, there are, teenagers, there's a lot of diversity as well in where people are from. I do hear a lot of English speakers. I see a lot of people from all sorts of different countries. So it's a really big mix. And I really love that about this neighborhood.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a good neighborhood for raising a family. As you said, it's less congested than some other parts of Paris. I can see that.
And larger sidewalks if you have a stroller. Yes.
Oh, yes. Paris and strollers don't always go hand in hand.
They do not, no.
And is there something that you wish you knew about the area before you moved there that maybe our listeners should know? For example, you mentioned that it was, a little bit more of a longer walk to the metro station, for example. But is there anything else? Are there things that you think people, if somebody said, I'm listening to this and wow, Annette sold me on the 15th, I want to move there tomorrow. Are there things that they should know before they do that?
The food. People discount the 15th in terms of restaurants. They don't necessarily think it would be a destination to go to for food.
Oh.
And like literally around the corner from my place is considered the best pizza place in all of Paris. And it is the only one that is certified from Napoli.
Oh.
And like the best Ethiopian place is right near my place. The best one in Paris, according to Time Out or whoever else. I can't remember who it was. There's a fantastic noodle place where you see them literally like hand making the noodles. You know, it's just there. It's so rich with various different places that you can visit and go have dinner. And the place that you and I went to with Fred, the Chinese place that has the amazing soup dumplings. Like there are so many really beautiful gems in the 15th, but because it's so big and vast, I think it's almost intimidating that people don't necessarily see all these places. It's almost like you have to know them in order to know that this is where you want to go. Or you have to know somebody who lives here that's going to sort of guide you to the right places.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think that, as you mentioned earlier, since the 15 size-wise is such a ginormous arrondissement, it's really difficult to know all of it. And it really does, I guess, depend on your area. For example, today, I actually happen to have been in the 15th for work. I was by Metro Commerce, which is, you know, not in the same area as you. But then that's completely different from your area, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think when they think the 15th, they think of Boisclair.
Yes,
and that's completely different as well. I mean, that's a huge shopping area, and that's wonderful if you want to go shopping. If you want to like knock out all of your Christmas shopping all in one fell swoop, go there, right? But like, it's not the entire 15th. It's a very small portion of it.
I've still never been to Boisclair.
Oh, really? I go to the movie theaters there because the pâté that's there is phenomenal. The screen is great. The seats are comfortable. They recline. It's one of those super posh movie theaters. So
yeah, I heard that.
I love that movie theater over there. Yeah.
No, I heard it was really good. Well, they've upgraded several of the movie theaters. They did that at the one at Place de Clichy in the 18th, the Wepler. They had renovated it a few years ago or something, and it's now nice, big, comfy seats. And they've got that like experience where your chair shakes and water sprays all over you. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It's called like 4D or something.
Yeah. I haven't experienced a movie like that yet, but I did see it the last time I was there. We went to see the new Black Panther movie. And so, yeah, they were talking about like some 4D. I was like, what? How does that work? And my friend I was with, she's like, I don't understand. I was like, well, I've been to a 4D thing at Disney and they spray water on you. She goes, oh, absolutely not. No way.
I know. And I didn't know that. And it was my daughter and I that went to go see something there after the cinema had reopened after the renovations. I forget what we were going to see. But so Yasmin and I, it's like, she says 4D. And I said, yeah, I don't know. And, there you go. So we get there and that's exactly it. And the water's spraying at us. And I said, I didn't know this would happen. But there is a button where you can turn off the water from spraying at you.
Oh, well, that's nice. And do they have smells and things like that too?
I don't recall any smells, but the seats move. So it's kind of like you're almost, imagine it's a big, car chase or something where you're going down.
Oh, right.
Imagine the pavés, the Paris cobblestone. And so it's bump, 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 bump. So your chair will do the same thing.
Yeah. So it's like, I love video games. I love playing video games. It's like when the controller shakes when you're playing a video game. It's probably like that, but with your entire chair.
I don't play video games, so I don't know, but yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, for those of you who play, video games out there, you'll know what I'm talking about.
If you're enjoying this episode of Paris, A State of Mind, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, The Heart of You. Join Annette as she helps you explore your soul through intuition, spirituality, and more. Paris, A State of Mind will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now back to Paris, A State of Mind. Well, I probably got a little off topic with our cinema and Boisclair, but do you have anything else that you would like to add about living in the 15th?
Yeah, the space. So the amount of space that you're going to get in an apartment in the 15th is going to be much bigger than what you're going to get in, let's say, the 8th or the 10th, which is where I was originally looking as well. So right now, currently my apartment is 80 square meters. I'm living on the 11th floor, so I have a stunning view of the entire city. So there are
Tell them
things
about your balcony.
Oh, yeah. The balcony. So I'm on the corner unit. So actually, the balcony wraps around 270 degrees around my entire apartment. So I can see all of Paris. It's incredible.
Tell them about the view on July 14th.
Yes, yes. I do have an annual party now on 14 juillet for the fireworks because you can see the Eiffel Tower directly from my balcony. So that's
perfect.
Yeah, and those are things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get in other arrondissements. And of course, you can get other beautiful views of the city because there are so many. But like when it comes to actually having the space, and especially with confinement that we had after I had just moved here, having this large space and having the outdoor space was absolutely just a necessity. So it was wonderful. You have elevators in a lot of the buildings in the 15th, which is super helpful, especially if you're living on a higher floor. Yeah, just a lot more modern amenities you're gonna be able to find. Parking as well. My apartment came with a parking space. I don't even have a car. So yeah.
Do you rent it out?
I don't because it's a rather small parking space. So I'm considering getting a car at some point potentially to, go on road trips and get out of the city and go to the forest and hang out and stuff. But I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do that. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, so like you can get a lot more amenities for the 15th than you would, I think, in other places.
Better bang for your buck. So
Indeed.
that will be how we wrap up the 15th. Better bang for your buck.
Yeah.
I guess finally, if money were no object and finding any apartment you wanted in Paris was really easy, where if you could live anywhere in Paris, regardless of all of that, where would it be? If you could just have carte blanche to live in any apartment.
I think I would still stay in Rive Gauche. I know that everybody has their particular preferences. I would probably pick a little bit maybe closer to La Tour Eiffel.
Okay.
Maybe still in the 15th or the 7th, somewhere in that vicinity. Still with the view that I have currently. With the same size apartment or a larger apartment, something like a rooftop apartment of some sort. And keep in mind, this is if money is no object and, I'm approved for everything, right? And everything gets—
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. This is your fantasy apartment we're talking about.
And then it would be, steps away from the metro. So I wouldn't have to walk too far, especially when it's cold as it is right now. Yeah. And then I would say that other than that, like if I could take this exact apartment with the exact view, everything that I have, and just move it a tiny bit closer to like a metro stop or to La Tour Eiffel or something like that, where it would be, closer to a lot more of the restaurants and shops and things like that, I would do that in a heartbeat. But other than that, wow. I love it. I love it here. I really do.
I'm so glad that you found your home in Paris and that you love it. That's really great.
I do. And a lot of that has to do with you, I have to say. And thank you so much for everything that you did for me when I first came here, because I was clueless, as most people are when they come here, and had no idea how to navigate any of it. And you helped me greatly. So thank you, my dear.
Oh, thank you. I'm just happy that we got to meet and that I was able to help. And more importantly, that we got to become friends.
Indeed. Me too.
Well, thank you again, Annette. And before closing, can you just give our listeners a rundown of how they can contact you and recap what you do?
Sure, of course. So my podcast on Paris Underground Radio is called The Heart of You. We cover basically everything having to do with spirituality, spiritual awakening, divination, Akashic Records, which is actually what I do. So it's past life reading. So I do past life readings as well. You can reach me on my website there at infinitesoullove.com. Also, I have just recently started my design business here in Paris. And so I am official in France as a micro-entreprise. So you can reach me there if you are looking for logos, websites, any sort of graphic design, or if you do events. I also help plan events, things like that. You can reach me at AnnetteDeLu.com. So it's ANNETTEDELU.com. E-T-T-E, D as in David, A-L-L-O-O.com.
You've got a lot of double letters.
I have a lot of double letters in my name. I really do.
And I just want to add one more thing, that even though your design business is new in France, design itself is old for you because
Yes.
you've done it for years in the United States.
Correct. Yeah. I've had my own design business in the U.S. Since 2005. I graduated with an industrial design degree from University of Michigan. And basically, yeah, I had been doing that since I was in my early 20s. So yeah, it was just basically a shift from the U.S. company to then now having the French company. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And it's been really, really great. I hope our listeners have found some things interesting about living in the 15th. And who knows, maybe somebody is trying to rent an apartment there right now.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, go for it. If you feel it and it feels good, go for it. You'll grow to love it. I promise.
Well, thanks again, Annette. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Gail.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Paris, A State of Mind, featuring Gail of Perfectly Paris and Marie of Loquim, both who are founding members of the SPLM. Paris, A State of Mind is produced by Paris Underground Radio. The music, Jazz in Paris, is by Media Right Productions. For more information on this show and others, go to parisundergroundradio.com.
This episode of Paris, A State of Mind was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more great content, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Paris Underground Radio.